Tonight with me, Cynthia Ng. Government looking into rehiring foreign workers for certain sectors and understanding the risk versus reward of the AstraZeneca vaccine. That's coming up. The Conditional Movement Control Order CMCO in Kuala Lumpur, Selangor, Johor, Penang and Kelantan will be extended until April 28th. Senior Minister for Security Cluster, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the CMCO extension also applies to Sarawak, which will end on April 26th. He said during Ramadan, state governments will be allowed to enforce strict rules regarding bazaars, but must not relax standard operating procedures. He also added that breaking fast events such as Ramadan buffet at hotels, restaurants and other premises are allowed, but under tight SOPs. The government will give free vaccines to private hospitals to maximize the public's access to vaccination. Starting today, private hospitals can register via Protect Health Corporation, a wholly owned company under the Ministry of Health, to participate in the second and third phases of the national COVID-19 immunization program.
Private hospitals will receive payment from Protect Health at 14 ringgit per dose administered, while payment will be 45 ringgit per hour for work in mass vaccination sites. Private healthcare workers will also be provided training for vaccination. As of yesterday, 2,304 private general practitioners have registered to participate as vaccinators for the immunization program. A total of 979,794 doses of COVID-19 vaccine have been administered as of yesterday. Selangor recorded the highest number of the first dose administered at 76,273, followed by Sarawak, Sabah, Perak and Kuala Lumpur. Meanwhile, more than 8.5 million individuals, or 35.1% of the population, have signed up to be vaccinated.
Senior citizens aged 60 and above can be given the Sinovac vaccine under Phase 2 of the National COVID-19 Immunization Program. Vaccine Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the Special Committee on COVID-19 Vaccine Supply had reviewed the data on the Chinese-made vaccine and found that the vaccine is safe, effective and stable for senior citizens.
He said based on the Brazil trials, Sinovac has showed secondary efficacy against COVID-19 to be 83.7% for moderate cases and 100% for severe cases. Khairi said the countries that have administered the Sinovac vaccine to its population aged 60 and above are Turkey, 11 million people, Brazil, 7 million and Chile, 3 million. In a tweet, he added that both Pfizer-BioNTech and Sinovac vaccines would be given to those aged 60 and above. Before this, Sinovac was not given to those in the above 60 age group. 80% of COVID-19 mortality in the country were those aged above 60.
Concerns about cases of blood clots among a handful of recipients of the AstraZeneca vaccine continue to hamper its rollout globally. Although regulators and experts say the potential side effects were extremely rare, just how significant is the risk from taking the vaccine? We speak to immunopathology specialist and Sunway University president, Professor Sibran Popema.
Yeah, the AstraZeneca story was quite unfortunate because, you know, the way different countries have been handling that. Because what is clear is that the benefits of the AstraZeneca vaccine are much higher than the risk there is. You know, anything you do, there's a risk. If you take an anti-conception pill for women, the risk of getting thrombosis is much higher than from this vaccine. Still, lots of people are doing that. So you have to keep that in mind. And perhaps if it comes to the AstraZeneca one, you know, for instance, we know for sure that for senior citizens, it's completely safe. You know, that one side effect, very infrequent, maybe 1 in 100,000 or maybe even less, because, you know, in the UK, millions of people have been vaccinated, and I think they had 7 cases. So it's very unusual, but yes, there is an entity with thrombosis and you know, loss of platelets. and that's special, and it probably most likely has to do with the vaccine, but it's so infrequent that the benefits far outweigh the risk. And you know, when you really think about the risks we are willing to take, you know, with all sorts of other drugs and so on, it really is not logical to not use this vaccine. And the other side of the story is, if people are not willing to use this vaccine, there are plenty of other ones for that target group of young women. So give them another vaccine, and you know, and use the AstraZeneca for senior citizens and so on.
At present, the mechanism by which the AstraZeneca vaccine could cause clotting problems remains unclear.
We don't know yet. We don't know whether it does have to do with hormonal levels. You know, when it's specific to women, that's the first thing you think, but that's not been proven. But that's quite possible. And if you have to think about a mechanism, you know, because always with side effects, you know, people think about all sorts of things, side effects. There has to be a mechanism. In this case, what we know is that in any infection you have, so also after vaccination, you get the stimulus of the immune response, which will make clotting just a little bit more likely. So it can be just, you know, putting something over the edge. But the most important thing is we do not yet know the mechanism. We do know now how to treat it, because that's been found out. You know, initially the first patients, they were treated with heparin, which was exactly the wrong thing to do. So now they know better how to treat them. I think less people, first of all, people will, you know, come to the physician much earlier, and they now know better how to treat them. You know, same thing with, we now know better how to treat patients with COVID than we knew 1 year ago. We now already, after a couple of weeks, know much better how to treat people with this side effect than we did before.
The government will look into rehiring foreign workers for certain sectors in the country. Human Resources Minister Datuk Sri M. Saravanan said this was because employers were having difficulties as locals were not keen in working in the plantation, agriculture, manufacturing and construction sectors. Saravanan said his ministry was in the midst of discussing with all parties concerned before making any decision on the matter. He said there are almost 400,000 job opportunities in those 4 areas that are still unfilled. Locals, however, will be given priority when there are job vacancies in those sectors. The Road Transport Department (RTD) is offering a 70% discount on traffic summonses for 2 months starting tomorrow. Individuals, including those who are blacklisted, can pay their discounted summons at all RTD offices or via online payments.
This offer was given in conjunction of the Road Department's 75th anniversary celebrations. Transport Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Wee Ka Siong said the discount involved active summonses identified from 2010 to March this year, totaling up to 3.5 million compoundable summonses. He noted that the discount would benefit motorists who have been unable to renew their driving licenses or road tax after being blacklisted for unsettled summonses.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
Untuk memastikan Malaysia ke depan kita boleh maju. Induknya adalah Melayu Islam.
Orang yang membuat polisi.
Kalau itu yang dia kehendaki, fine. Mungkin kita berbeza pandangan.
Tapi kita mempunyai kuasa yang boleh menentukan budaya di masa hadapan.
Polisi yang mesra wanita sudah tentu dia akan datang daripada pemimpin wanita.
Untuk memastikan Malaysia ke depan kita boleh maju. Induknya adalah Melayu Islam.
Orang yang membuat polisi.
Kalau itu yang dia kehendaki, fine. Mungkin kita berbeza pandangan.
Tapi kita mempunyai kuasa yang boleh menentukan budaya di masa hadapan.
Polisi yang mesra wanita sudah tentu dia akan datang daripada pemimpin wanita.
Thousand new COVID-19 cases today.
India now accounts for 1 in every 6 daily infections worldwide. The world's second most populous country has experienced a sharp rise in cases after several weeks of campaign rallies, lax mask wearing and religious festivals. Nearly 1 million devotees gathered at the banks of the Ganges, a river many Hindus considered holy, to join in the months-long Kumbh Mela festival, risking a surge in infections. Monday's new cases carried it past Brazil for an overall tally of 13.53 million cases since the pandemic started, placing it second after the United States with 31.2 million.
Japan began COVID-19 vaccinations for its elderly population today as a fourth infection wave hits the country. Japan has a rapidly aging population. Some 36 out of 126 million people are over the age of 65.
Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga said he expected to secure some 100 million vaccine doses by end of June, more than enough to give 2 doses to the elderly population. Tokyo also began a month-long period of emergency measures to blunt a fourth wave of contagion driven by mutant strains and with the planned start of the Summer Olympics just over 100 days away. Japan is dependent on Pfizer's vaccine as the only COVID-19 shot approved by domestic regulators.
Myanmar ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi was hit with fresh criminal charges today. Her lawyers said the latest charge was under the country's natural disaster management law.
Suu Kyi now faces 6 criminal charges in total, with the worst being charged with violating the Official Secrets Act, a conviction that could carry prison sentence of up to 14 years. Meanwhile, over 700 people have been killed in protests in Myanmar, 46 of them children. Opponents of the junta called on people to show defiance with costumes and prayers over the upcoming traditional Tin Yan or New Year holiday, hoping to maintain the momentum of their campaign, in which more than 700 people have been killed since the military seized power on February 1st.
Iran has blamed Israel for an attack on its underground Natanz nuclear facility on Sunday, warning that it would take revenge for the assault. The comment made by Foreign Ministry spokesperson Saeed Khatibzadeh was the first official accusation leveled against Israel for the incident. Israel has not directly claimed responsibility for the attack, but Israeli media has widely reported that a cyber attack orchestrated by the country caused the blackout. Iran's Atomic Energy Organization said the nuclear facility was hit by a terrorist act hours after it said an accident had caused a power failure. Tropical cyclone Seroja has ripped across a 1,000-kilometer stretch of Western Australia, leaving a trail of damage. Homes were destroyed and tens of thousands of residents had their electricity cut off overnight.
Weather authorities said Cyclone Seroja had sustained uncommon pace and strength overnight as it moved from Kalbarri and Geraldton on the coast and inland across the state's wheat belt. Residents reported smashed houses, fallen trees and downed power lines. The storm was later downgraded to a tropical low, though strong winds continue to move southeast. Several towns in the area remained under red alert, meaning authorities advised residents to take shelter.
Could a resolution of the Kedah-Penang water dispute lead to a sustainable and ethical approach to managing natural resources? Tonight on Consider This, Melissa Idris and Shirakutan speak to experts on how to break the impasse. That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I'm Cynthia Ng. We'll see you tomorrow.